if you identify yourself as a sensitive person, maybe someone that doesn't have a lot of energy, that after spending time with some people, certain people, or in certain environments, you feel like you take in a lot from, you're absorbing a lot of what's happening in these spaces with these people. You probably feel sometimes like there are moments where your self-worth changes, where your self-worth gets affected by these situations, and maybe you find yourself at a place where you're like, okay, I've been working on myself, I'm very into self-development, and I know all these tools, and I practice yoga and practice all these things, and I don't know how to get back to uh, where I was, let's say, before I spent some time with this group of people, or before I had this experience. If that's the case, if that's the way you are feeling, I'm very glad you are in this video, because I'm gonna share very vulnerably how I get out of those states. Because no matter how much work we do on ourselves, no matter how many books we read, no matter how many years we have been into self-development, it happens to all of us. Of course, the more tools, the more understanding on why it happens, the more understanding we have about ourselves, the more awareness we have about ourselves, I would say the easier it becomes to find the way out of these states. So I was very inspired. I was like, well, if I'm still getting into these states after all the work I have done, I'm sure people that might be a little newer or might be starting this journey, this process of becoming aware of who we are and changing our patterns and all these things, I'm sure it's gonna be helpful, because it can get tricky. It can get tricky, especially if you are coming from working on your self-work, on believing in yourself, in trusting in who you are, in your gifts, in your value. So what happens often is just I don't have the explanation how come very small things just trigger that thing, that emotion, that memory. So the reality is that we all operate very differently, and we all come from different backgrounds, different stories, different trauma. So, and also, like, that's one part. That's I mean, I'm trying to explain how that happens. I'm trying. I'm not 100% sure if I'm gonna have the full answer, but this is my intuition. So one thing is where we are coming from, all the things that we have experienced. Another part is the experience we are having at the moment, and another part is where we are in our process of coming back to be our authentic selves. So if we are into the self-development world, I'm assuming you are into all these techniques and tools. We understand that we do all this work just to remove the layers that have been not allowing us to be our authentic selves, right? So I don't think there's a way to measure where we are. We are constantly evolving, and I might be evolving way more in some areas, but you might be way more evolved in some other areas. So it's always going to be different. There's not a way to measure like, okay, this year you're going to have, I think astrology kind of can do that a little bit. I'm not very I mean, I do love astrology, but I try to not go too intense, too hard on predicting and learning everything that's going to happen to me during the year with astrology. I will share maybe more on another video about astrology, but yeah, I think astrology is one of those teachings, things that can help you to have an understanding about, depending on your past, your parents, and all these things. Like it can tell a little bit of what you could expect in your life, but it always go back to us, to the choices we make in life. So going back to what to do when we are in those places, when we are like, okay, I was feeling great last week, and after having this interaction, after spending time with this person or this group of people after being at this place. Now I feel very off and I feel like just at a totally different place. What to do? If you have been following my channel, if you have been watching my videos, you probably know that I always recommend to have a little quiet time that can look in many different ways. I do love journaling. I'm a creative. I went to school for I went to a fine arts school. I'm very used to using my hands, to having that connection with my hands and my inspiration with everything that is inside that wants to come out. So, but I'm aware that we all are different. So if you are, I don't know, someone into singing or more vocal, you're into, the sounds, like probably is going to be good for you to speak with a friend, or even recording a video of you speaking, sharing what's your experience, what you're feeling, recording voice notes, or maybe just thinking. I'm not how can I describe this, like my memory, I don't have the best memory. Well, I don't know, I feel like the way I think, it's just a little different. So I feel like I need to bring things out of my mind, that way I can look the whole picture instead of focusing on little details. So again, that's why journaling, it is so powerful for me, super helpful. So the first thing is to get out all the emotion. If you need a little cry, if you need a little release, things that can help you to have that release is exercising. I love yoga. I share a lot about how yoga helps me to get those emotional releases, how to get those emotions out of my body. But breath work also, it's a very very great tool that you can practice. There are many ways, many different styles of breath work, somatic breath work, tons of resources out there. You can Google here on YouTube and you will find. So working with our emotions first, understanding exactly what was activated and any connection with the past, with your patterns, like when was the first time that you experienced this emotion. Having that clarity, I think, is very important. And I want to say, like right now where I am in my life, like I can tell that there are moments where you have clarity right away, exactly the connection and how to come out of this state. Sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes it takes a little longer. So I want to invite you to be very compassionate if that's where you are at the moment. If maybe you need extra time to fully understand and fully work with these emotions that are coming up for you at the moment. And the second part of this process, of this exercise, is going to be very simple and very fun. And I'm very happy and excited to share this with you because it's not complicated. It's nothing too deep, nothing too weird, nothing too difficult to do. And it's to go out and have fun. Why? Because usually when we are in the self-development space, we neglect that a little bit. We focus so much in intellectually understanding what's happening, who we are, how we, understanding the new tool, learning the new technique, doing all these things, and we neglect that essential part of being a human being. And the thing with having fun, and this can look very different for everyone, is that we connect with our essence and with our talents, with the things that bring out of essence the best of who we are. And usually those things are the ones that create a spark in others. If you think when you were little, I'm sure we all have these memories of, that game that made us happy. Usually we were just happy playing with others. Everyone was enjoying. So practicing being on those states of joy and enjoyment, it's super key for this process of remembering your self-worth, of remembering the value you have to give, to bring to this world, to share with others. And that's it. It's not more complicated than that. Find your way. I can share a little bit about the things that that I do. I love being active. I love riding bicycles. I love dancing, playing music and dancing. I would say, like, again, like, because we all are so different, so being active is my way. I have, I guess, a few different ways being active, but being creative too. So um, expressing my creative energy. So, wearing fun outfits, um, going dancing, being around, expressing my energy, just being around other people and sharing my ideas, also sharing what I'm wearing. Those things create a lot of enjoyment for me and bring me a lot of joy. So the more we practice, the more we reinforce being on those states, um, the quicker we get back to remember our self-worth, to remember the value that we have. We all have a lot of value. And I want to emphasize on that because I think, when we are focused on our careers, maybe we are maybe a situation you're experiencing is that you're having a difficult time at work. I think work is one of those spaces, of those environments, as well as romantic relationships, where easily our self-worth can get triggered. And I feel like it can be a little tricky to kind of, if things are not going well at work or things are not going well with our partner or with the person that we are seeing, um, it's a little difficult to remember or value in those spaces when we are just so focused on those environments. So going back to who we were when we were little, connecting with that spark that we all have, is just the quickest, it's the easiest way. We all have it, and we just forget that exists. We complicate our life so much. We get into these states of controlling because we want certain outcomes. And yeah, our minds as humans, it can be very, very tricky sometimes to maintain in states in this stay in these states and remember those things about ourselves. Anyway, I hope this inspires you. I would love to hear any ideas and experiences that you guys have and would like to share in this community. Thank you so much for being part of this journey, and thank you so much for watching. Until my next video, peace and love.